93K BTC, and things are definitely looking a lot better out there at the moment. But is there going to be a short-term pullback here, or are we going to see all-time highs before they come and kill us? So guys, we've got a lot to talk about here. I've got something to show you where I think we're going to pump all-time highs before they wreck us. So we're going to cover loads of alts here. I've got longs, I've got shorts, I've got BTC. We've got so much to talk about here. Let's get right into it. Guys, and remember, as always, hit that like, hit the bell, and hit the subscribe. And we've got Mr. 𝗵𝗱𝗟 here in the house. He's actually
bullish now. Bullish now.
He's bullish now. Is that the top? Is that the top?
Time to short everything.
We're gonna see. Okay, banter bubbles looking mixed bag actually at the moment. But in terms of what we've seen over the last couple of hours, we had a big sell-off on BTC yesterday, straight into our second hot zone there, and we caught that nice little long off that VWAP. So that thing is cooking at the moment. We're going to go through that in detail. And then in terms of things that are moving at the moment, look, Fartcoin's down 8%. I've got a nice Fartcoin chart for you guys here today. SPX, some of these memes doing all right at the moment. Brett bouncing off that degen level I gave you guys yesterday. And interestingly, we saw a lot of these altcoins bounce off some of those zones that we gave you yesterday, including Pendle, that actually picked up one of my limit orders. So that size is getting nice and big now. And if we start pushing, it's going to be an absolute cooker. Now, these hackers, I see Chris is in the chat here saying, go hackers. Now, these hackers earlier today, I actually asked them, should I long the top of ETH leading into the show? And these guys, these absolute degens, it was actually a lot worse just now. They went 31. Telling me that I had to long the top of ETH. So that is exactly what I've done to start the day here. So we are long ETH at the top. Are we going to pop through, or are they going to absolutely come and send us to zero? So we're going to talk about that in a second, but let's cover some BTC. And Paul says, why are we dumping with good CPI? Bro, Paul, the S&P is cooking. Okay, we're going to talk about that one now. And remember, the crypto markets often have the opportunity of pricing these things in advance. So they went nice and green. So a typical little sell-off after the news made a lot of sense there to us. So let's just recap where we are now on BTC. I've broken this down into the 1 hour time frame. And yesterday, what an absolute banger. Look what we dropped into there. I gave you guys that 382 and VWAP level there, and a beautiful little wick into that zone. And we've had a nice little pump today into our typical 618 rejection zone. Okay, no surprises there in terms of a TP zone. And we did see today, leading into that CPI news, the market was nice and green, and it was almost like the market was expecting these things. So to get a late flush out, I think made a lot of sense to me in terms of everybody getting a little bit long, a little bit late there. And Glenn Goldberg says temporary bullback. Glenn, I'm on board with you there, sir. I think we're okay with that current game plan. So what am I looking at now on the short term for BTC? Well, you can see we've already had our retest now of 102,695. That was a zone I dropped in hackers today. So during the day, obviously in chart hackers, I dropped updates on what I'm looking at on BTC and things like that. And that was one of the banger zones that I gave. So a nice little reaction there, that 102,600 region. So this is going to be our first line of support here if there is any more weakness today. So if we do start drifting lower, I'm going to look for that one to bounce a second time there. So that is going to be the first sort of area where we say no panic allowed. Now, if we start losing these types of levels, it could get a little bit interesting for us later, because we have an undealt with wick to the downside here at this 101 to 100K region. So that is going to be another zone to watch on any weakness. So guys, if we do start falling over leading into tomorrow, 100 to 101K, that is a big zone that I want you guys to pay attention to. And then I just want to highlight a little bit lower down here. And I don't want to cause too much panic, but this is a realistic zone. And I'm going to talk about this one in a little bit more detail for you guys in a couple of minutes, and it is still a bullish zone. I wouldn't get super bearish at that 98K down to 97K region, but it is a number that we need to look at. And you can see at the moment, we've also got a VWAP pushing up here. So I'm expecting quite a strong reaction if we do drop into that zone. Now, a little bit, just a warning bell here on the 2-hour. We do have our first bearish divergence print. So it's just something to be aware of here in terms of BTC in the short term. But these levels that I've given you should tide you over, barring anything extreme happening now. And remember, one of the big things was that S&P, and I'm going to talk about that in detail, but that S&P over the 200-day MA is quite a big sign for me. And I think as long as that thing is doing okay, we should be fine in terms of BTC. Now, if we do start grinding higher today, there are a couple of interesting levels, but the most obvious one for me to the upside is going to be a partial or a full wick full of yesterday's pump action that we had. So I would say look out at around about that 105K region. That is making a lot of sense to me there. So if we do get a secondary pump now from here, I would say just exercise a little bit of caution in that region, 105K. So that is pretty much, guys, the ping pong zones for me. That is what I'm paying a lot of attention to at the moment for BTC. Now, let's get into some action here, and I wanted to touch on this. The fear and greed index is sitting at 70. So we are in the greed levels at the moment, but we're not in the zone where we say, fuck, it's like completely overcooked and we need to start being super careful here. But we are in the time, or we are in the area where people are getting a little bit spicy and they are taking a little bit more chances. Maybe the leverages are going up and things like that. And we're approaching these stages where you can easily get these quick flush outs in the market. And I just want to point this out. This is a great tool for you guys to pay attention to, because what typically happens in crypto is 20x, 30x, 50x, and then some of those degens start coming out a little bit harder. And that can be shown in the current liquidations. Look at this, 503 billion again, James. And we're no longer dealing with these rookie numbers. James loves this. I think
big money.
I hope he enjoys this, eh? $500 billion every 24 hours. We had the same yesterday. Now, remember, James, when the market was so quiet, we were getting 100 million. And
100, 200, yeah, rookie numbers. This is proper rinsage.
This is the real deal. So the guys are trading again, and I just want to warn you. Just guys, slow down on the leverage. There's no rush, okay? It's not a race, okay? At the end of the day, you're pushing buttons against yourself. So another interesting one is the S&P has finally hit greed, and I suspect now that this S&P is broken above that 200-day moving average, things are going to get greedier. And things are definitely going to get
juicy, extremely juicy.
So it's going to be fun. I can tell you that much. And this was the bears after seeing a US-China deal was reached just the other day. I mean, this is exactly what happened. There they go. Off they go. But are they going to come back? Are they going to come back? Now, I'm keen to hear the sentiment from you guys in the chats. And I didn't run a poll today, so just hit me up in the chats. Yeah, I want to see how you guys are feeling. Does all-time high come first, or does 98, 97K come next? Which one comes next? Just tell me in the chats there. I'm just keen. James is watching that sentiment for us. Jason, let me know what comes next, bro. All-time high or 98/97. I see Jay is also in the chats. He's been an absolute savage, that man in Chart Hackers over the last couple of days trading some gold. So now, guys, the big news today was CPI inflation. That dropped to 2.3%, below expectations. Okay, that's pretty bullish. So core CPI was 2.8, in line with expectations, 2.8. This marks the third straight monthly decline in headline inflation, and it continues to cool despite the trade war. Now, it's a bit of a lagging sort of situation, so we might find, next month's reading is not as exciting as this one, but that we can kick the can down the road. Okay, we can look for a little bit more pumpage there, and then we can play those games later on. Now, Trump has signed a strategic economic partnership with Saudi Arabia, so we know that. We also know the Chinese deal has been now paused. And Princess, bearish. Look at Princess here, bearish to 98. Eh? What else are we going? Generic says wick higher than 98. Okay, interesting. Keep it coming. 𝗵𝗵𝗄, what are you thinking there, bro? Let me know. Coastline says 98. Run said all-time high at the end of the month. Okay, let's see. And come, guys, keep it coming. And Carl is trading Peppy. Guys, I don't know if this is a good sign or not. Mia, let me know. Is it a good sign if Carl's in Peppy there with you guys? Now, hedge funds were long volatility, short the Dixie, short equities, and short Bitcoin before the US-China trade deal was announced. Okay, it sounds like wreckage. And for me, it sounds like they need to be watching this show, or they need to be part of Chart Hackers, because they would not have made those simple little mistakes. Am I right or am I right, James? Do you concur? I mean, Really, it's so easy. They can just tune in and subscribe to this channel. Very simple game here, and they wouldn't be making those types of mistakes. Now, 𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏, yes, sir.
If they're not watching the show, they're total losers. Total losers.
Totally. They're not bullish enough. They're not bullish enough.
Complete disaster.
𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏, Jim Cramer's 1987 Black Monday prediction was the exact market bottom. Okay, I mean, isn't this beautiful? Nasdaq is up 24% since then, and I think we actually covered this. And we even said, I mean, is this the actual bottom? Look at Random. I like Random's hat there as well. And Ferdy's trading some peppy here. Who went long at the top of ETH with me, by the way? Are we going to zero? Let me know. Okay, so 𝗏𝗏𝗟𝗏, literally another reliable indicator. He did it for us once again. Okay, and what else we got here? The S&P has closed more than 20% above its April low, technically beginning a new bull market. Now, we don't even need this to tell you that. I've been telling you guys for the last couple of weeks that 200-day moving average is going to be the big one. This is where all the people get hungry again, okay? And the guys in suits, they throw around, oh, the 200-day, let's go, we're above the 200-day. So you might see a little influx here in a couple of longs coming in the next couple of days. So that is looking good for us. Look at this gappage here on the S&P. Wow. And they're totally just taking out that bearish divergence. So we'll deal with that for another day. Okay, so the S&P is now cooking, guys. We are on track for our all-time highs, and I don't want to say it's a free ride to here, but it's always a good start when you see a nice gap above the 200-day MA like that. And for me, the most obvious target or the most obvious next play is going to be in that region. And what we're going to look for here on BTCC for our possible short is some kind of bearish divergence. If we start picking that up on the S&P at all-time highs, well, we're going to start pushing a little bit of buttons, and we're going to try and send that one down on BTCC. So remember, guys, we can trade all this stuff on BTCC, and you can see my Microsoft short at the moment, a little bit red, my gold long from yesterday, a little bit green at the moment. And remember, BTCC, you just send crypto, and then you can trade the stocks, the gold, S&P, all these things with me. And all these things that I talk about, guys, remember, it's just in the show description there. Click on more, and everything that I'm talking about today, you can find under that show description there for you guys. Okay, now more than 50% of the stocks in the S&P are now above their 200-day MA. Look at that. Now the S&P is above. Now some of the other stocks are above. And now look how this conversation is starting to come out again. Now everybody's talking about this 200-day moving average. So I remind you again, the stock traders out there, simple little tool that you can use. Below the 200-day MA, everybody panics and gets bearish. Above the 200-day MA, all these tweets start coming out and everybody gets excited again. So things are looking nice from that front. And then in terms of US dollar net short positioning, it increased to $17 billion this week, which happens to be right around the same levels that the Dixie bottomed in the 23 and 24 markets. Now, look, I mean, these guys are technically shorting support, and we know that when we get into support in these areas, you do get a good bounce, but maybe they're not entirely wrong. So I don't want to say, oh, you know, it's so ridiculous that they're shorting on support, because these guys have very deep pockets, and maybe they are just planning for a bigger move like that to the downside. So it's not necessarily a bad thing for these guys, but in terms of a typical bounce zone, we had the Dixie bouncing off a nice 618. It was a nice macro level here, and you can see right now rejecting off the 50-day MA, and we still have the 200-day MA later on to deal with. So they're not necessarily wrong at the moment, but just an interesting place to go max short on major support. Okay, but they could have been in hackers, or they could have watched the show, and then maybe they could have saved a couple of cents there. And Fahad says we need to be ready to short the moon. So guys, I'm going to show you something interesting here today, and I think we are going to get these short opportunities, and it's just a matter of trying to get the timing right. Now obviously we can't exactly tell the future, but I got a couple of ideas behind this stuff, and we're going to talk about it in a second. Just another bit of notable news, Coinbase is now joining the S&P. So this thing has been absolutely pumping, and we haven't looked at this one in a while, but in terms of the last time we did look at that, we gave a nice little move into the 50-day MA, and we were looking for that bounce. And now this thing is absolutely rocketed. Unfortunately, I didn't get a piece of this at all. but now this thing is starting to push higher. So good news all around, I think, for crypto, good news for Coinbase as well. And in terms of our next potential long trade on this thing, we're going to treat it exactly like a shitcoin. So the minute this thing rejects, all you need to do is drag your fibs up all the way to eventually this Coinbase is going to reject. And you're probably going to find that you're going to have a nice support base around about the 200-day MA and horizontal. And that is most likely going to be a typical area where we can start looking for some longs on Coinbase. Okay, so just be patient there on Coinbase. Current rejection zones that I'm watching, 271, and your next one is going to be around about that 300 level that we are going to be watching. You can see we are in the midst of some potential divergence as well, so you're probably going to find something like that at some point, and that's going to give us a sign either at 270 or at 300. So there might be a short-term short on the table, and you're most likely going to find that that ties in with Bitcoin rejecting at whatever level or whatever point in time, and then we're going to get some kind of pullback on Coinbase and the market as a whole, and then we can start looking for longs there. Okay, so nice little game plan on Coinbase for you guys, and if you want a bit of diversity outside of the crypto market, well, this could be one that you guys want to play with. Now, remember, all these charts that I talk about, guys, go straight into Chart Hackers at the end of the show, so you don't have to panic, and you'll find everything there. If you are part of Chart Hackers, you'll get all these things waiting for you. Now, let's talk gold. So, interesting move here on gold at the moment, and I'm still just playing the typical reaction zone. So I gave you guys 2 reaction zones for gold, and this was my first one. Now, interesting to see gold pushing so high, or not so high, but gold bouncing nicely with the S&P, and normally, you know, like I said, we're expecting the S&P to go up and gold to go down, and that did play out quite nicely for us into this first zone. So I'm not changing my gold position. I'm going to stay long at the moment, and let's see how this thing plays out for us. The one I'm worried about, or not worried about, is Microsoft, but I'm going to update you guys on Microsoft in the next couple of days. I just want the S&P to settle a little bit. In terms of Microsoft, you can see I've still got sell orders at 454 and 464. So still looking for a nice short on Microsoft. That should pump into a nice S&P rejection as well later on. So just being patient with that one. And then in terms of BTC, so the interesting thing I want to show you guys here is, well, first thing is you can see on the daily chart, we've got bearish divergence in play right now on the S&P. What is bearish divergence? Well, basically, this tells us that momentum could be slowing and that we maybe need to exercise a little bit of caution. Now, the things with divergence is it doesn't always play out immediately, and sometimes whether it's bullish or bearish, you sometimes get a little dump before, or you get a pump before these things actually start playing out, and they come out and flush out some late longs, or they flush out some late shorts and things like this. And what I wanted to show you guys on this daily chart on BTC was the last time we had a bearish divergence print was in early December 2024. And what actually happened here with BTC was it dropped slightly, okay, gave a little new entry, then it pumped, okay, and then the dump started happening. Now, the interesting thing about this pump, from the lows, it actually pumped 14%. But from the day that it printed the divergence, it pumped 7%. Okay, so with that in mind, I've been paying attention to this thing, and I've been saying to you guys late last week and this week that I expect all-time highs to be taken before a major correction in the market, and I'm still looking for this type of play here on BTC. So I'm still looking for this 110K, maybe even a little bit higher, just to flush out a little bit of action at the top there before there is a greater correction in the market. So interesting to see, if we're using history as a guide, this makes sense to me. But what needs to come into play potentially is this dip into 98, 97. So that could offer a little bit more downside here, and that would obviously tie into these levels that I've dropped for you today, and that takes into account this 98, 97 region. Okay, so that is just something on the table for me. I would love to try and catch the short on BTC, especially if it happens, in the next couple of days, because then I think we're going to get a beautiful correction in the market. So looking forward to that. James, what's the sentiment out there at the moment? Do they want to go higher or lower first? What are they telling us here?
It's pretty split, but I'd have to say more people are looking at 97, 98, but I think a lot of that is PTSD, right? everyone can't believe that we could possibly break all-time high. There's no way, because people are still as bullish as they are. They're actually bearish because we've just been stuck in that forever.
Well, they're scared. I mean, I mean, how many times in the last few months, in fact, since the Trump pump, have you guys done a round trip? Okay, how much PTSD do you have? I mean, we've all got it. We've all experienced it. So
everybody should have max PTSD with this cycle.
Leonardo, bro, do you have it? I see Leonardo's in Cuba there, and I wonder if he's got PTSD. And Rob N says it's going to go low. Remember, guys, I actually wish I ran a poll here, because sometimes the best trade is to counter trade what everyone else is saying. And we've often successfully run a poll here. And if 70% are too bullish, you can actually counter trade that. And the same with the converse. If everybody's too bearish, maybe you need to look at going a little bit higher. So watch these chats.
There was more 98 for sure. They've won.
Really, eh?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay, and 𝗏𝗏𝗃𝗏 says Bitcoin is losing dominance here at the moment. And let's see what else is going here. Rob says people still got liquidation on the brain. Okay, well, let's look at Dylan's beard. Look at Dylan's beard. Let's hope Trump's new coin. Look, if Trump's new coin pumps sold, guys, I think we know we need to exit this time. Okay.
Truth Social came out and said that that's bullshit. They denied that there's any token at all, but everybody's reporting that it's coming out within the next 48 hours now. That was 72 hours yesterday, well, so we'll have to see. But yeah, that's definitely a concern. Getting another Trump coin that comes out and sucks all the liquidity out of the market. That would really suck.
All I can say is, if the Trump coin, a new Trump coin comes out and it sucks liquidity out of the market and Solana keeps going up, close that trade. Okay, that's all I'm going to say. Okay, and I think we learned that lesson last time. It absolutely ripped to 250, 260. Close the trade. Okay, close the trade if Sol starts popping. And Raheem says dominance is falling. Okay, we're going to look at this now. We're going to look at this dominance now as well for you guys. Okay, so guys, let's see. We've got those BTC levels. Cool. Let's look at some liquidation levels. This is the 1 week, obviously, that we're paying attention to. And you can see there's a lot of indecision at the moment. This thing goes all the way down. Look at this, all the way down to 93. There's a lot of juice here. You can't argue against this. There's a lot of liquidity lower down for these market makers to come and grab quite easily. And then the upside, look at this. We've also got a nice band here, 106, 107. So looking interesting there to the upside. Then in terms of the 4-hour RSI, this is feeling a little bit better for me at the moment. You can see these things are settling in neutral territory, other than Nero. Look at that thing. Oh, geez. I mean, the break shake gave me that Nero this morning, and that was a bit of a banger, but you can see that thing is overcooked at the moment. But generally, things are back into neutral territory, so we're not in a zone where it's extreme panic either way at the moment. But let's take a look at things like dominance. So USDT dominance still sitting below the 200-day moving average, which is quite a positive sign for us. If this thing starts breaking above, that is obviously a concern for us. That means money is moving out of the crypto market into stable coins, and obviously then there's a sell-off across the board. So warning sign for me at the moment on the daily, we do have a double bounce print, a double reversal print on the USDT dominance. But again, that's not saying they can't sweat us out one more time before there is another bounce. So I'm just pointing this out. Also notable, USDT dominance is underneath the 200-day MA. And funnily enough, the S&P is now above the 200-day MA. Isn't that interesting? Just the way these things all tie in together in certain ways. Now, let's look at Bitcoin dominance, and you can see this is coming down. So thanks for pointing that out earlier. Who was that in the chats? And we're looking at dominance at the moment dropping to slightly lower levels. So the interesting one for me is what I've highlighted here. Alt danger. So I think yesterday or 2 days ago, we had our first test into that zone, 62.4. Now we are moving into zone number 2, which is quite a big one here for me. So 62.2, guys, look at that. That's previous resistance. If that turns into support, we should get a mega bounce out of dominance. Is that going to tie in, with alts pumping a little bit harder, maybe hitting some new resistance areas? So I just want to point that out. Get this on your chart, set your alarms, okay? And in fact, I'm going to put my alarm on right here. This is a no FOMO zone, okay? So if alerts-based crypto symbols may be inaccurate, continue anyway. Okay, so my alarm is on 62.2%. If we do drop into that thing, that is an altcoin warning for you guys. That says de-risk some of your alts if you are long. Take profit on some of your altcoins if you are long. Okay, so watch that area closely. And then in terms of this guy, you can see I do have a reversal underway at the moment. So we could get some kind of divergence here. Look out for that. And then I would expect a nice ride back up on dominance. And it would be a nicer ride if we catch a couple of those shorts. So make sure you are watching the show for some short entries here, and make sure, obviously, you're in hackers, because we have trained these hackers to absolutely short the shit out of everything and not be scared. Okay, so if you want to learn how to short, we're doing that in hackers all day long. Okay, and let's see. Sigma says just configured his custom Aston Martin Valhalla. Well, I don't know. I just longed ETH at the top. How are we looking here on ETH at the moment? Or what's it doing? And okay, well, we're gonna see now. Okay, let's talk about this ETH at the moment. So these two, these two started alt season, okay? And I mean, look at these guys. They're so happy with themselves. Everything is green again. And I actually forgot about this one. I absolutely love this from the meme master. ETH finally broke 2K. Then you remember, you actually bought it at 4. So guys, I mean, are we allowed to get excited because our shitcoins are up 10%, but we actually down 50% in the market? So we must control ourselves, yeah. And I see these hackers are still voting. There's another one telling me I need to long the top of ETH here. Okay, guys, you're gonna absolutely send me to 0. So if we are longing the top of ETH, what I can tell you guys is a reasonable target here is this 200-day MA and 2750. Okay, so I wouldn't look much further than that right now. So 2750 is pretty much extreme for me in terms of an ETH pop. This is the weekly chart that we're watching, but I think we've got a lot in the tank here in terms of the weekly. So the last time we saw these weekly reversal prints, you can see what happened here. This was August 24. We had a nice run up. Okay, so we do have a reversal here on ETH. So there is, there is scope for a little bit more to play on ETH at the moment. But in terms of any short-term pops in the market, 27 to 2750, I wouldn't get too much greedier beyond that thing. So here is ETH on the 4-hour, and just to confirm, the levels that I gave you guys yesterday, they still actually stand for me. This is just purely a degen operation going on here. And Ivan says longing the top works. So guys, I'll tell you what, longing the top is essentially a breakout. Okay, so you get these breakout trades, and you're actually longing the top. Okay, and you long the top because there's momentum, and then all of a sudden the momentum starts working, and you get stopped once, you get stopped twice, you get stopped 3 times, and then you think, fuck, why isn't it working? Okay, so just remember, some of the best trades you're ever going to get are on those red days when the market is falling over, when you're absolutely miserable, and that is when you come to Papa. Okay, and I'm going to sort you guys out every single time on those reversals. But the beauty of chart hackers is I've made sure that I've got a team with different strengths in there, and one of them, I've actually given him the name the Break Shake. Okay, you can figure out why I've called him that, but he's an absolute savage with his breakouts, and he's been running breakout trading stages in chart hackers on the weekends, and I've convinced him to maybe come out of his shell and do a couple of YouTube shows for you guys as well on the weekends, and he's the Break Shake. So that stuff is coming out pretty hot for you guys pretty soon. So just once again, make sure you are subscribed. Make sure you have the notifications on for this channel so that you know when the Break Shake is going to go live. Okay. Gary says, watch your entry. Are we talking about ETH? Because I long the top, bro. We literally longing the top here. Okay. So in terms of ETH, where are my higher conviction reversal plays? For me, no changes to yesterday. I'm still loving 2,350 down to 2,280. That makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, that region over there, that's sort of our first line of attack. And then a little bit lower down, 2,150 makes a lot of sense to me. Okay, so barring market momentum and another rejection, all you're going to do, and it's very simple here, if ETH carries on running, look out for that 200-day, look out for that horizontal up there. One of these should reject it. Okay, one of these zones up there should reject ETH. And all you're going to do is just drag that fib higher up to wherever you get that rejection, and you're going to make sure that you tie in your confluence with VWAPs, horizontals, all those things on these good areas, and that is going to be ultimately where you're going to get your reversal play. Okay, so let it play out. If it is going to start breaking highs, let it do what it needs to do, and then you're going to get, you're eventually going to get your reversal play, and I'm going to hook you guys up with some banging swing trades. Okay, so just hang in there and just be patient. Now, haven't touched on this one in a while, and we know if ETH is super strong, the first thing I like to do is trade a little bit of Peppy, but obviously it can be a lot broader than that, and some of them are things like Lido, some of them are things like Arbitrum, Optimism, all those other ETH plays that we have. And Arbitrum has come to my attention today, chains with the highest net inflows over the past week. Arbitrum 1.19 billion. James, I still don't understand how this shit works. I mean, who the fuck uses Arbitrum? I mean, it's so random. But anyway, here it is. Okay, lots of people apparently use Arbitrum. I haven't met a single person yet, a human, maybe bots or whatever. But I thought let's look at this Arbitrum chart. And if we're going to get some ETH plays, well, this could be one of the ones that attacks the 200-day moving average next. So you know the theory behind this, and I've been talking about it for a week or two here. We've blown the 50 on a lot of altcoins. Then the next target was the 100-day MA. They've hit those, retested. Then a lot of them have now pushed into the 200-day moving average. So what we can do is look for some laggers, because it gives us some nice targets that we can look forward to later on. Now, PPP uses ARB. What do you use ARB for, bro? Let me know. Honestly, honest question. What do you use ARB for? Just let me know, okay, what you use it for. So in terms of Arbitrum, I think it's quite an easy play at some point. We just got to get through a couple of big horizontals here. But in terms of the next target for this thing, I do believe we can see 57. Okay, so that makes a lot of sense to me. But the question is, how do you get there? And what I want to show you guys first is there's a lot of things in the current price action that is telling me that some of these alts just need a breather. Now, we don't necessarily need a massive breather and a massive move to the downside, but you can see using the past information here, when we get these reversals, you typically get some kind of bleed out for a couple of days before the next move. Now, we've obviously had a super bullish pump here, and you can see this thing is trying to reverse at the moment. This is the 12-hour that I'm watching. So there's something about this that tells me that that was the first rejection. So there's a very high possibility that you can get multiple little pumps in between. But until that 12-hour is fully reversed or reset, we should actually just be looking for moves slightly lower down on these things if we really want to capitalize on a bigger swing trade here on things like this. So I just want to highlight this for you guys. So in terms of like a high conviction reversal play, like the day you're going to find me when the market is red and I'm super excited pushing the bullhorn, everybody's feeling bleak and depressed, and I'm like, guys, fuck, this is the day, and everyone is crying. But that's going to be a day when ARB, for example, is down here at 375 or at 3.4. Okay, that's going to be the high conviction day for me. So right now, until then, we're most likely looking at short-term moves up. So I'm not saying you can't get moves of these zones, but potentially something like this, okay? Until we break these levels, and then, you know, we are proven wrong, and this thing keeps absolutely printing. Okay, so that is what I'm looking for on Arbitrum lower down. Now, in terms of short-term degen scalp zones, what I can give you guys, okay, if ETH breaks the current resistance, so you know we've longed ETH at resistance. If ETH breaks the current resistance, you could probably get away with an Arbitrum long, maybe to the highs at 0.5, and your support that you can use is 42, or you can use 404 for a potential stop loss. Now, that's got to do with ETH breaking the highs and Bitcoin remaining bullish. So your risk, it's quite deep here, guys. It's about 6% to the extreme lows. If you're using just the 12-hour candle, that's about 3%. That's a little bit more reasonable. And then your extreme target would be about 17% at the highs. And the reason I'm saying that is because you can see this area has been tested multiple times. So if we do pop back into that zone, I wouldn't say we break through again immediately unless Bitcoin is actually going a little bit crazy. Okay, so there's a little mini degen play for you. Where's the high conviction? Down here. Okay, that's the high conviction. That's the degen guy here. Okay, so just play safe, manage position sizing, manage risk accordingly. Don't do stupid things. Okay, Paul says Peppy is moving. Well, that's nice because I gave a nice Peppy trade today in Hackers. We're going to look at that one in detail. Here it is. Let me just find it. And so what I do in Hackers, obviously, besides the team that are absolute savages, dropping trades every like 20 minutes, what I did today was talk about a Peppy long that I was taking. So what I do in my channel here is I tell the guys I'm getting some Peppy, then I just guide them through the trade. I give them tips while we're going, and I tell them exactly what is going on there all day long. So if you like that type of thing, you can find that in Hackers. Obviously, besides the amazing team that are doing crazy shit in there. And we're going to talk about 𝗵𝗵𝗏 in a second. Yeah, let's finish this 𝗪𝗏𝗏. Okay, so guys, you got 𝗪𝗏𝗏. You know where we are there on that one. Let's go 𝗧𝗿, because I can see Mia is crying about 𝗧𝗿. Is Mia short 𝗧𝗿 or is she long 𝗧𝗿? And I see Mia is also saying 𝗵𝗵𝗏 is on the move, so that's good. Is Mia long or short 𝗧𝗿? She was saying
I'm not sure. She was saying it won't fall over, so I'm thinking she's trying to short.
Okay. Well, Mia, I've got 𝗧𝗿 for you. Let's look at this thing. So $480 million of 𝗧𝗿 buying pressure coming in hot from one single player. 𝗧𝗿 Strategies has already bought 20 million in May. They're aiming for up to 500 million in future. So that's just a little bit of buying pressure. It's not a lot in the context of the market. 20 million in May isn't exactly huge, but it is something to take note of. And what I want to say for you guys today, and this is what I actually said to the guys. Did I say this in Hackers or did I say this in our private chat today? But basically, I'm moving to a new town if 𝗧𝗿 breaks the 200-day MA. It's called 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏. Okay, so that is basically what I'm looking at. And that 200-day MA is big resistance for us. You can see its resistance on ETH as well. It was major resistance on the S&P and all these types of things. Here it is again. And I said, yeah, big zone to break for 𝗧𝗿. If it pops that 200-day MA, it suddenly unlocks 220 as the next possible target here for us. So very interesting stuff happening here for 𝗧𝗿 if it can put pressure on the zone Mia. And now I'm going to take a look at lower time frames. And just in terms of the 4 hour, you can see 𝗧𝗿 might be doing one of these things that 𝗪𝗏𝗏𝗏 might do now, or ETH, for example, and give us one more pop through an area like that. But if we have to look at higher time frames, like the 12 hour, you can see things are actually looking for reversals. So we might start finding things like bearish divergence playing out on the 12 hour, on the daily, on some of these altcoins, which will give us some really nice short entries a little bit later on. But in terms of what we're looking at now, for example, for 𝗧𝗿, you can see the 4 hour has printed a reversal and this cash flow has actually started turning up. So very interesting to see what happens now if 𝗧𝗿 pops through this 200-day MA, because then I think we're going to start attacking some levels a little bit higher up here and things could get a little bit more spicy. So right now, this is obviously resistance at 180. So just be careful up there. Any breakout traders, remember the rules. If the candle starts popping through the region, then you can start nibbling. So you'll nibble. And once it pops through, you can bang your stop under the breakout candle. Then when it drops back, you want to see that 382 come and hold for you. And that is where you can add a little bit. And that's exactly what I took the hackers through on the 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 trade today. We had the full breakout and we had the retest. So I'm going to show you step by step how I took them through it. And if that stuff interests you guys, hang out in Hackers. You'll learn all these things along the way. Okay, so 𝗧𝗿, in terms of, where I'd love to see it, okay, in terms of if we have to be totally objective with it, I'd love to see 𝗧𝗿 drift further back. I'd love to see it down here at 165 down to 156. This is still my ideal high conviction swing zone on 𝗧𝗿. But until then, if you're not in a 𝗧𝗿 position, you're going to find yourself playing the breakout. So it's pop, rejection, and go. Okay, and you're going to be looking for those types of moves there on 𝗧𝗿. Okay, so just be careful right now. As you can see, we are at resistance. So wait till we pop with Jesus. Oh my God. Okay. Well, that was interesting. So here's an interesting thing. Okay. So I was net short yesterday with a lot of these things, but then fortunately we dropped into some good zones and I caught the long on BTC off the level that I gave you there. And you can see I'm $100,000 long on BTC at the moment. I'm $164,000 short on BTC. It's just picked up my next sell limit order. So we're going to have to manage that one now because I was expecting a little bit more downside there on BTC. Then in terms of my soul short that I grabbed the other day at 180, that is still in play, $50,000 short. Link, I'm still $55,000 short on that one, but I'm $130,000 long on Link at the moment. That thing is cooking. Virtual still long, guys, cooking. Added some more yesterday. 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 is a second 𝗵𝗵𝗏𝗏 trade that I grabbed this morning, been adding onto that one. And then Bonk, I caught the long up, and I'm obviously still short Bonk. I mean, what an absolute banger. Caught the Bonk short at the top, caught the bonk long at the bottom there, and now we're in control of these trades. Now we can decide, what happens next there for us. And then gun, I'm still sitting in this gun. Nothing's happening on this gun at the moment. I'm not sure how that is going to play out, but it's basically been the same play for the last while. Now, if Sol is going to get bullish here for you guys, I've got 𝗵 here that I want to talk about. So 𝗵 is obviously a DEX on Sol, okay, and it's a nice DeFi play on Solana. Remember, if one of your ecosystems is doing nicely, what you can always do is jump into a couple of the memes from that, and then also jump into the DEXs on those things as well. And 𝗵 is one of them that is obviously looking interesting to me, and I wanted to give you guys the target, okay, just like we've looked at Arbitrum. This could be a play. The 200-day MA. Look at that. 79 is starting to make sense for me on 𝗵, but I want to stop here. I don't want to get you guys trying to trade a 𝗵 pump here. I want to just give you an area where I feel, more confident with this thing, and I'd love to see this thing down here at 48. Okay, so there's no trade here for me right now on this 𝗵. I want to see it at 48. Let this thing drop lower. If 𝗵 keeps on cruising up, all I'm going to do simply is we're going to check in again later in the week. If this thing keeps going up, we're just going to adjust these levels, because at some point, we are going to get a mega pullback on these tokens, and you are going to get your entry. So what I don't want you guys to do now is to long everything at resistance. If I get a 5% move or 10% move, then do a full round trip and then wonder why it's dropping a little bit further. So be super careful here with 𝗵. My entry for me is lower down. So let this pump do what it needs to do if there is going to be one. And I'd say let's check into this one later. So please don't ape into everything here because it's sitting at resistance. And I almost want to say, there is a little bit of a bearish tendency with this thing at the moment. So I'm not feeling super confident on that one until we get a healthy pullback on the market. Alexandra obviously got some 𝗵𝗵, and let's take a look at that 𝗵𝗵 at the moment. So I took the 𝗵𝗵 trade that I gave the hackers in L-Bank earlier today. There it is. And I added a little bit on the retest. Then you can see I'm still long Sol, $43,000. If it breaks that 200-day MA, I'm going to go to Ape Town. I'm going to add a little bit more there. We're going to try and get that size up a little bit. Then I've got that 𝗬𝗰 short that we've been sitting in for a couple of days, and then started building a 𝗬𝗰 long on that momentum. And then 𝗵𝗵, there's the long, and you can see ETH along the top of ETH. And when we start breaking these horizontals up here, 2620, I'm going to start adding to that ETH position. So right now we're not out of the woods. I want to see ETH push a little bit higher. Then we're going to start adding to ETH and see if we can start increasing the size on that one. But again, no urgency yet. Let the market do what it needs to do. We don't need to panic add at resistance. It's super dangerous here. You can obviously get rinsed like in a flash. Okay, so be super careful there. What I want to cover here, let's see, let's go Sonic. Okay, so Sonic's been obviously a big one for us as well. And what we got, so ESA surpassed 2 million distinct addresses. Once again, James, who the fuck uses this stuff? Is it bots? It's not me. It's not my gran. It's not anyone else I know. Daily activity remains strong with recent peaks hitting 110K unique addresses. Well, let me know in the chats. Who uses Sonic every day? I'm dying to know who actually uses this stuff. Maybe this is why I just trade these shit coins and I don't use them. Okay, so let's see. Tell me who's using Sonic. And in terms of what the play is for this thing at the moment, well, I'm trying to keep it really simple. And you can see I've got a rising trend here. And every time we have dropped into this trend on Sonic, and you can see we've had a bounce. Okay, so what I really want you guys to focus on is the current area here is 54. So if we're getting a short-term pump in the market, Sonic has actually got a lot of work to do before you can get super bullish on it. It needs to break that 62, 63 region. If it doesn't do that, I'm pretty confident it's going to come back down here. And we're going to get some kind of move at 54. So another one for me is, guys, just be patient, okay? I have no desire to ape into this thing at this type of level here, especially considering like things like the 8-hour are actually a bit bearish. Things like the 12-hour are also a little bit bearish on these things, okay? Look at that. So much divergence. Okay, is this the final pump? Is this the last few kicks of a dying horse? There, I said it again. Why did I say that so much? But you can see there's so much divergence here on the Sonic. Okay, so just be careful until this thing breaks 625. You can't be that bullish on it. Okay, so look out there. 54 for me or Sonic, that's my entry zone. In fact, I'm going to set an alarm. We'll come back here in a few days. It will probably be at the end of the week, okay? And we're going to go ping, and we might be getting along there on that Sonic. Paul says, what does it do? Exactly. Can somebody tell me what it does, please? Tell me about this internet money. What does it do in the sky there? Okay, guys, so there you go. Sonic, that's the plan. 54 is my first sort of higher conviction zone. I want to see that dip for Sonic. Now, where have you seen this one before? 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is the most sold token by smart money in the last 24 hours. And Popcat is the most bought token by smart money in the last 24 hours. Where have you seen that?
They just keep doing this back and forth. It seems 𝗏𝗏𝗏 and Popcat, the whales just go in between.
So guys, it's fart cat time, okay? And let's look at some farts. And look, for me, I try to draw up a high conviction long zone for you guys today, okay? And for me, you guys know my sentiment on 𝗏𝗏𝗏, okay, or 𝗏𝗏𝗏. So I like to get this thing when we have big reversals to the downside. I want to see divergences. I want to see all those types of things. So in terms of 𝗏𝗏𝗏, I'm not in a major rush, okay, for this thing. I see Yumi's already farting. I mean, she's really jumping the gun here with that little ripper. But you can see, okay, 𝗏𝗏𝗏, I've mapped out the levels for you. What I want to show you is, okay, degen scalp levels there and there. Okay, so these are the degen levels: 1.26, 1.136 degen level. Okay, then you get swing levels where you get bigger moves. For me, that's a swing level, 98, okay, down to 95. 98 to 95 is the big one, okay? The smaller ones are the ones you send the P&Ls to your mates and you're trading at 50x and you're doing those things and you're having a laugh, okay? Those are those top two, okay? So you can get these bounces because typically what could happen here on 𝗏𝗏𝗏 is something like that, okay? And then you get the big gun, okay? That's kind of how I see this thing playing out. Now, obviously, any one of these levels could be one that sends this thing to much higher levels. It's all possible, okay? But in terms of what I look for, I like to see the big reversal signs on the 4 hour, on the 8 hour. I love that divergence, the reversals, all those fun things, okay? So levels for you guys: 1.26 bounce zone, okay, for degen, for sure. It could go higher. Next one, 1.136 bounce zone for sure for the degens. Then the swing play, the guys that have lots of patience, 1 to 94 looks the best for me. Okay, that is what I'm looking at there. And has Trump done speaking? Now, is this bullish or bearish? Or what's he talking about, Jay?
Well, he's in Saudi today meeting with the Crown Prince, right? And that's where they got this great big deal and $600 billion pledged to the US and all this stuff. So, yeah, it's bullish. Not sure if that's why we're pumping or we're just pumping because Bitcoin needs to pump, but it's bullish.
Could be. Okay, let's talk Popcat, guys. Okay, so if you look at relative to other tokens, Popcat once again is holding up. Okay, so we know these guys are buying this thing. We know there's a lot of whale action or whale activity back in Popcat again. And what I want to show you is the major rejection zone. So you can see these areas, mark them on your charts. If you get euphoric in Popcat and it keeps ripping, these are the areas you need to be careful. 635, 742 and 834. Get out there or take profit there or tighten up your stops in those areas. Those are major rejection zones. Then I want to highlight something else for you. We've got mega divergence and reversal prints at the moment on Popcat. Now, the last time we had that, the whales were holding it up. James and I had this discussion on the show, and there was something going on there. Okay, the whales were holding this thing up, and then it started ripping. Okay, so we have a situation where the divergence didn't really play out. It just floated around. But I want to just highlight again, I've got multiple reversal prints here and an overbought signal on the oscillator. And this is happening underneath major resistance. What is major resistance? Horizontal and 200-day moving average. So guys, be careful, 6355. That is a massive danger zone for me. Remember, some of my best trades are going to be these nice reversals that we get, and we will get a reversal. Don't think we are not going to get a reversal. And when we do, make sure you have dry powder. Make sure you haven't burnt it just breakout trading, because you're going to need this when we get that reversal later on. I just want to warn you guys. So we'll deal with the entries. Right now, my preferred zone for Popcat is 448. If we do drop into that area, I think give it a little bit of patience. I'm not in a rush to jump into Popcat unless the break shake tells me to jump into PopCat, then I say, yes, sir. And then I'll go for it. But he's in hackers. So he'll tell you when you need to jump into any breakouts there on PopCat. And Mr. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 says 155. And you see, here's the break shake now. Arabian Panda, he says, hackers, eyes on Giga, about to break trend. So just to explain to me when you say eyes on again, Panda, when you say eyes on, does that mean we have to long it?
That means ape in now, doesn't it?
Panda, talk to me, bro. Quickly, talk to me in the chats, bro.
And everything's pumping. This is push button, make money. Just hit the green button.
This is very dodgy, guys. Panda, eyes on Giga. Does this mean we buy? Asking for a friend. Asking for a friend. I'm just asking for... Oh, okay. I'm just asking for a friend. Okay, I'm going to put a stop here. 2564. Okay, let's see how much rinsage that is. 0.02564. Oh, it's rinsage. Panda, I'm going to get absolutely rinsed here if it comes back to my stop, bro. Eyes, tiny position, betting on the break. Okay, well, thanks for clarifying that, bro. Okay, there we go. So there's my stop. Okay, it's going to cost me $500, bro. Okay, I'm going to take that off the profits that you made me earlier today. There's going to be a penalty for that if we get it wrong. Okay, so there we go. He wants the rest on retest. Okay, so there we go. I'm long Giga now, according to Panda. Okay, let's see. PopCat, you know what to do. Okay, let's talk virtual. So this was an absolute banger off a simple 382 order block and VWAP. Look at that. I gave you guys this level yesterday. Now, obviously, you know, that can be used as an add-on zone for anybody in virtual already. You can see I'm now in virtual. I'm now $30,900 long plus 9,000 profit. So we're almost 40,000 long now on virtual, where we've come quite a long way considering that thing started quite small. So I am still looking for these upside levels, 243 and 263. And just in terms of basic range support playing out for us, this 188 and 183 held really nicely. So that is going to be our support to carry on watching, and no changes to that. So if you do get a dip back into that zone, that is probably going to be a bounce area for you. You can see the bulls keep buying whenever it dips into that area. So I would look for that zone again if you're looking for a scalp there on that one, okay? Then upside, you've got the targets there for me, and then your support, just to confirm that number, 185. Watch that area, and then a backup play, guys, 1.74 is going to be your backup zone there. Okay, are we getting rinsed on Giga yet? No, not yet. No rinsage yet. Okay, let's talk Peppy, guys. This is a classic breakout trade, you know, that we get involved in, and this is the one that I gave to hackers earlier today, and it started really simply. Okay, it started with an idea, but it started with Peppy just pushing into. Now, this wasn't the first one, but I dropped this previously. I said, we're looking for a breakout here. This is your classic breakout strategy. Well, this is my breakout strategy. Obviously, everyone's got a different style as to how they do it. But when I see something like Peppy start breaking the horizontal, now we could see, I highlighted must start breaking the zone. We had a VWAP in the way. I had a 382. I had a horizontal. We knew this was a bearish zone. And when it starts breaking that area, I start nibbling personally. Okay, so I have a little nibble there. And once it gets momentum, you know, then it typically rejects at a horizontal, and then it comes back for the real test. Okay, and that's pretty much what you saw happen today. Okay, so we pushed up, we rejected at a zone, we dropped back, and I said, yeah, must hold the 382. Okay, so at the time, where's our 382? Look at that. And it comes back to the 382. You can add a little bit there on the 382, and then you get that second push to the upside. So that was the trade. TP zone 14388. And the extreme one was 153, and I think I had one lower down about 147 as possible TP zones. But that's just a typical scalp play. Okay, so nothing like high conviction swing play where we must hold this thing forever. It was just a little scalp move there for the hackers, and hopefully you guys learned a little bit of something around it, or about how we go about doing those things. Okay, so I'm glad that one played out nicely for you guys. There's no fresh trade for me now on Peppy. And you can see on this particular example, I'm using the 45 minutes. Okay, so I mean, here's a nice guide. Look at that bullish divergence there at the lows. Nice little oscillator coming into play for us. But now danger zone. Okay, look there. We at a 618. Okay, so you can see these little scalps just like that. Okay, let's go. Let's talk Pendle, because this thing's also turning into a bit of a screamer now. So Pendle picked up yesterday. I showed you guys I had 2 limit orders waiting for Pendle. So Pendle on that weakness yesterday, it picked up my first limit order. So now I've got a total of $42,000 long on Pendle. Remember, this thing started $10,000. Then I added. Okay, so we've just grown this position slowly, and now we are primed. Like, if Pendle starts ripping, we are primed to make some money here now on this thing. So it's been a very long, patient trade. We've been doing it for, James, 5 days? I don't know, a week? Give or take. So sometimes these things take long. You don't get instant gratification every time. But just in terms of, what we saw yesterday, it dropped into our VWAP. It dropped into just above our 0.5. Look at that beautiful pivot level here, and just drops into that zone and bang. And now we've got a 4-hour reversal print. So that is looking okay there for us. And who says Gig is going? There goes Giga.
Giga pop.
Panda, you sicko. Okay, the man's disturbed. Okay, the break shake, he's disturbed, that man.
Magic. He has a crystal ball that he keeps using, and it doesn't disappoint. I tried to use it yesterday. He got proper pissed at me.
Panda, you sicko. Okay, he's doing it again. Okay, yeah, it's magic. Magic, poof. Until what? The breakouts don't work, bro. Well, you just keep doing what you're doing. Okay, it's working for me. Okay, so if we finish Pendle, you can see. Hopefully, some of you guys have been trading this with me. Hopefully, you've been sitting in this one with me, and you followed the steps in growing this thing. Obviously, some of these trades take a bit of patience. It takes time for them to play out, and you can't be impatient with these things. Yes, sir.
Now he's screaming Mog. Is he just going to keep showing stuff out long, everything all show long, or what?
No, bro. Panda, one's enough, bro. If they want something else, they can come visit you in Hackers. Okay, well, one's enough. Sicko. Okay, so in terms of targets for Pendle, what can we look at? So just a reminder, our first zone is this region up here, 4.36 up to about 4.46. And then our next one is going to be 4.77 up to about 4.88. Those are the potential targets that you're going to be watching. And then again, support, guys, this could be easily a fake out. Remember that? We are pushing into resistance on a lot of altcoins. This is range high. Okay, so let's not get too ahead of ourselves here. We can see range high. Okay, you could easily reject here. So if you are sitting in Pendle and you feel like you've made enough, there's nothing wrong with taking profits at a major resistance zone. Okay, absolutely nothing wrong with that. This is resistance for Pendle because it could easily come back down, test 3.6 before we get our next push. Okay, so just warning bells there to you guys. And it's hard to, what did you say? It's hard to listen to Dylan chasing breakouts at the same time. Guys, I'm trying to juggle everything here for you. Okay, we're trying to keep it going strong. For you guys. Okay, let's see. Jean's got some Sui. Let's look at Sui. I do have Brett, guys. I do have Brett. Don't panic. I've got Brett here somewhere. I'm going to skip to Brett. Okay, let's find this Brettage here. There it is. Okay, so yesterday on Brett, I gave you guys 2 zones, and I even wrote you degen bounce zone. Okay, so are you a degen? Justin Low. Okay, Coastline K9. Are you a degen, bro? Because if anybody took Brett off the degen line, you are a degen. There it is. Okay, so 0.75 was the bounce zone, Luke, and I hope you guys got it. But now remember, you're not out of the woods. It was just a degen bounce zone. So remember what can happen off the 236. The 236 is often just your first start to a downtrend. Okay, so you got your rejection. You've dropped into that zone. This could just be the first move into something bigger lower down. Okay, so I just want to highlight this for you guys. Decide how you want to play these things. Okay, you cannot, in my opinion, say that is a swing long play and that's the bottom and you're going to ride this thing forever. That doesn't work for me. That type of thing here is a swing long play. So if you're trading the degen zones, 236s and stuff, be prepared to take profit. Be prepared to jump out and say, okay, cool, nice scalp. We'll wait for the big red day where we get the swing longs. Until then, have a lot of fun. Play the bounces in those zones and do those things. But equalizer, sis, bro, sis. And probably got good value there, though. Probably made a few bob. Okay. And Rainier is trying to short Brett. He's our surgeon in chart hackers. Now, you must see the work that this man does, Rainier. And he's trying to short Brett. And again, I don't think I can argue with that. Look at that. We've got our 200-day MA ahead. We've just had a bounce off a 236. This is effectively the right shoulder of a head and shoulders. Let me show you guys this thing. Okay. Look there. Okay. Left shoulder, head, right shoulder. Okay. I don't think he's wrong, right? So that little bounce there, Rob, Brett looks like a dump. Yeah, it's a 236 bounce. That's all you've got at the moment. That's why I wrote there yesterday, degen bounce zone. Okay, so look out for that. How do you invalidate, me being bearish on these things? Well, it's quite simple. You need to break the highs. So you can see the highs. There they are. Okay, so you need to actually break the highs and start reclaiming these areas. So when do you turn turbo bullish on Brett? There, when you start cracking ahead and start going to that zones. Until then, it's just a little scalpy bounce that can maybe turn into something. You meet a girl in a nightclub, you have a bit of a smooch, next thing you know, you're engaged. It can turn into something, but not always. Okay, just one of those things. Okay, let's see. No, these guys are trading MOG now. And what's Rob saying? He tries, guys. He has too much info.
MOG popped immediately. Panda's DMing me. He was like, look, it's popping right now. I told you.
No, you guys are mentally disturbed.
Gotta come to chart hackers for that kind of degen stuff. It's not every second.
They're mentally disturbed. Okay, so yeah, we're nice and green there. We made $100 so far on Giga. ETH long the top. It's in profit so far. Guys, just remember, Jason's a very good point here. If you're scalping and you're doing this shit, it's so much fun until there's a quick sell-off in the market. And then you hit stop. That is why I immediately said I don't want to do MOG as well. Now imagine I got you an ETH at the top, Giga at the top, and MOG, and then the market rolls over. They're like, fuck, this guy doesn't know anything. Okay, so you see what I mean? Let's be balanced. Let's be measured. We get our swing trades from the big dips lower down. We have lots of fun. We play breakouts. We do these things, but don't overdo it because it takes one sneeze in Bitcoin and you're getting rinsed, okay? And my ADA brain is on fire. Sues you. Okay, I just want you guys to be responsible. DM, bro, I've got AVAX for you because I gave you a level for AVAX yesterday, and I believe it hit the zone. I also gave you guys CAS yesterday. I'm not going to harp on it, but just anybody who saw CAS, 200-day MA, look at that bounce there on that guy yesterday, 1-1. That is your big support on CAS. And then in terms of AVAX, I'm pretty sure I gave this yesterday. James, ring a bell?
Yeah. No, you had it yesterday.
There it is. Guys, we went... what did we do? Just to remind you again, this is important. Okay, this is important. I know we're jumping around a lot today, but when Bitcoin drops into a high impact reaction zone, all you need to do is go to the altcoins and say, is the altcoin on a corresponding support level? If it is, tick the box, okay? If Bitcoin reacts on that level, your alt dropped on that level, there's a possible long there. If Bitcoin drops onto a level and your alt isn't at your level yet, you're probably going to wait a little bit, okay? And this AVAX is a nice example here. Just dropped into VWAP, and in this case, it was a 618, okay, at this point. So nice little zone there, and looks like a little reversal on the 4 hour. We don't have the full divergence print here just yet, but a nice little mover so far. So AVAX, it looks pretty much like Brett actually, and you might find yourself in this type of situation. So I don't want you guys to get too bullish. Okay, look at that. You could pump into there and then drop. Okay, so just look out. There are bearish signs at the moment. And yeah, Princess got some CAS. Okay, learn to read the chart, says Rob. I hope he's not talking to me. Rob, I think I know my way around the charts, bro. Is he talking to me? I hope he's not talking to me. Guys, don't chase. Yeah, Rob is right. Okay, don't chase, guys. Remember, keep it measured. We are still bearish here. That's a head and shoulders potentially on AVAX. You've had a nice pump off a degen level. Let it ride higher. Is it a high conviction zone? Is it the big one, that we look for? For example, SOL. Look at that. The big zones for SOL are actually lower down. So don't get ahead of yourself. Just play safe here. Let's not get too ahead of ourselves. The big swing moves are going to come. There's going to be a monster red day. So in between that, keep yourself entertained. Play the breakouts. If you find 2 days in a row your breakouts are failing, there's a sign there. Take your foot off the gas. Relax. Okay. Let the dump come. And then we start the process again. Okay, but calm the emotions. Watch Dylan take it. Okay, what else we got here? It's time to fill your bags before the dump. Well, you don't want to fill them too much and then get dumped on there, guys. 50% in seconds on Giga, says Bayer. No, you guys are filthy. Okay, so let's cover 𝗬𝗰. Now, here's another one. I see you guys asking in the chats about 𝗬𝗰. So 𝗬𝗰 is an interesting one for me. And we know this has been ultra bullish of late. And it's actually been a tough short, but it wasn't a great short zone. And that is why me and Dave actually started shorting 𝗬𝗰 not too long ago. But I can already see a picture playing out here potentially for us. And a lot depends on what's going to happen with BTC in the next while. But in terms of SUI, you know, if we start dropping, there's a big level over here. Okay, that could give us something like that. Okay, so I just want to highlight, you know, this is a long play still from here. It can happen later on. But until SUI clears 4.25, which is that, I would say we are on board for some kind of move down, okay? And then you might find yourself looking at something like that. Okay, so just be careful here on SUI. 4.25 is what you got to be watching. That is going to be your big one. Okay, you want to clear those highs, and that is going to open up 4.5 for you and stuff. So my basic sentiment here on the altcoins is, short term, we can see little reversals, 1 hour, 2 hour charts, those types of things. We can see that. Higher time frame actually leaning a little bit bearish, and it's telling us you might print bearish divergence. So you might see new highs pop on some of the alts, but ultimately it's just teeing us up for a bigger picture move to the downside, which could happen with Bitcoin also rolling over potentially at all-time highs or something like that. So I'm obviously watching this closely every day, guys, so you don't have to. And I'll bring you, you know, everything I've watched throughout the day, I'll bring it to you in the show. And I'm doing the work for you guys, obviously, and to try and lighten the load. But guys, I think that is about it for me for now. Let's just check where we are on BTC again. Dominance still coming down. That's nice. Oh Jesus, this Coinbase. Oh my God. Coinbase absolutely ripping. Okay, that's nice. Let's see Bitcoin. Yeah, Bitcoin. Look, just also a reminder here, folks. This is a trend. Remember, we called this wedge. I said this wedge breaks down 60, 70% of the time. Okay, now it's broken down. All we're dealing with here is a retest. Okay, it's a bearish retest of the wedge at the moment. Okay, and FJ says Panda just made everyone enough money to join hackers. Well, must I let me close this thing? Oh my God, it's still going. Panda, must I close this thing, bro? Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do, Panda. Are we waiting for these highs? Where's he? Where's he? Has he disappeared? What's he doing? Okay, so guys, what a fucking wild 45 minutes. Okay, so we long the top of ETH. Okay, we long the top of Giga, and this is only bull market shit. Okay, in regular conditions, you're gonna get caned doing those things. Okay, so just guys, don't go too hard. Okay, James, thanks for hanging there. Thank you, sir. I had fun. I really enjoyed that. I really thoroughly enjoyed that. Guys, yeah, we'll see you tomorrow, same time. Later.